is it, the right arrow? All right, that's, yeah. Yes, sir.
Think about that. I do have a beard. What are the things you said you do for people? You said you already have a contingency plan for the ones that are injured, going to be injured, the possibility of injury, whatever.
Our big injuries are knees and shoulders. Okay. So with the shoulder guys, we have a pit shark. I think Dave's got one here. Do you have a pit shark? Our contingency plan is that.
Okay.
And you have to understand, I'm one person for 40 people.
Sure.
Okay. So, I always read these, don't worry. I always get a kick out of people in our industry taking the, criticizing strength coaches in college or the pros or high school. This kid's not doing this or this. Do you know how hard it is to coach 50 or 40 kids at one time who literally are dumber than shit? And they have no sense of any, like if you let them go, like I'll tell you, I know I'm getting to your question, I'm sorry. I give no one any choice anymore. There are no choices at all. You do it my way or the highway, because what happens is if you give an inch, and they will take more than a mile. It's gonna get worse and worse and worse, so there's zero. Now the little trick is I call it the Democrat-Republican solution. It really doesn't matter who's elected. I don't care what your beliefs are. It's the illusion of choice that we're given. Right? We all rally around our one guy, and it's like, things will be different. I've been alive for 41 years now, and it's never changed. Not once. But I still laugh when there's 60-year-old people this is gonna be it. It's like, come on, man. 60 years hasn't taught you anything. So what I do is I give them the illusion of choice on stuff that doesn't matter. For example, you can do push-ups or you can do dips. Oh, good job. So I give them my wife does it with my kid all the time. What color bowl would you like to put your bacon in? It's pink or blue. It's blue. It's oh. So he feels empowered a little bit. And I know everyone tells me everyone's different, right? Everyone needs different stuff. Well, that's a load of horse shit. Maybe when you're up in the upper levels, but where's the older guy I was talking to? Where's Jeff? There he is, he's ignoring me right now. Jeff and I were talking, and I get a lot of kids who, I don't know if they read Muscle and Fitness or whatever they read these days, I don't know. And they're always asking me questions, and my first response is, say, can we do front squats? Ask me.
Yeah.
No, ask me.
Oh, we do front squats.
In decades, how long have you been training? 2 months. That's what they tell me. And I said, I've been 3 decades. And then they get on, and I ask them, can you do 50 push-ups? No. Can you run a sub 6-minute mile? No. So you start going over these very basic ideas. And what ends up happening is you start to shoot them down. I know that sounds really mean, but I don't have time to be very nice. When you got 50 kids, you got to put them in their place now and get them back on track. But anyway, but yeah, I give them no choices anymore. When I first started, I was kind of lenient with some stuff, and now it's nothing. You do it or you don't. So what we do is for if they got a knee injury, every time they train, they just do their same bench workout they did. And if I want to do something a little different with the numbers, we can. And we just do what I call special forces. We just do push-ups, chin-ups, dips, rows, and we just bomb it. It's kind of you remember Buddy Ryan? You guys know who Buddy Ryan is? Football coach, yeah. Do you remember when he was a coach of the Eagles, what happened when the guys got injured? What he had them do? Come on, no one knows this? Football, what did he do when the guys were injured? He was a head coach. What's that?
They wanted off the IR.
Why? Do you know why?
Because the workloads suck.
Yeah, the workloads suck. Because Buddy Ryan, if you guys don't know, was a football coach. He just passed away, right? Yeah. This year. He was the architect of the 46 defense of the Chicago Bears, who I'm sure Buddy Ryan and Mike Goedker are still, those guys could kill and rape everyone in Chicago and they'd still be mayor, right? Yeah, fucking elect them, who gives a shit? So he would have rock piles, 100 yards away or 50 yards away. They would just have to pick up a rock and bring it to the other one and just keep on doing that the entire practice. So you didn't want to be injured anymore, okay? So I kind of want to make it a little miserable because there's a difference between being hurt and injured. And these kids need to realize that. I don't want to be a jerk about it, but if you're not playing, you might as well just go crazy a little bit. So with the guys who are shoulders hurt, we do the belt squat, we do the straight leg deadlift on the belt squat, so they stay out of the way a little bit, dumbbell squat. and it just depends on how bad their injury is. Maybe they can do some rows or something. But it's just, I just do set rep, a standard rep count. Like you gotta do 100 reps on the pit squat, and it's gotta be a plate on each side. Let's go. And then they start feeling real better real quick. And I don't mean that to be a jerk, but you have to understand too, one coach, 40 kids, I can't just sit there and monitor everything that they do. So, and it's hard to program the pit shark. That means I have to watch all that stuff, and I'm not going to do it. So we just do it like assistance work almost. Just 100 total reps, and they're in there for forever. But that's the contingency plan. And now it's easy. Now I don't have to sit there and monitor everything. Okay. What else? Is that what your question was? Yeah, you just keep it. You want to keep it as close to what you're doing as possible. Now the kids can, if they have a knee injury, or I'm sorry, a shoulder injury, if they can squat, we just squat the shit out of them. I have found, at least in my experience, that if I can teach a kid to squat correctly, we can teach them anything. Teach them how to deadlift, teach them, you know what I'm saying? It's easier to jump. They have that base of strength in their legs and their hips and their stomachs and backs. It just makes things a lot easier. It's like we were talking today, it's like teaching a kid how to read. If you teach a kid how to read, it opens up everything. Even math, because now you got to read word problems. I thought about that for a while, because everyone loves math, like the other people other than me. But if you read, it opens up everything to you. And it's the same kind of way with training. If I can teach a kid how to run, squat, and now we teach them how to jump too, everything becomes easy. It's even easy to teach on the field. If you teach someone to explode, like, listen, you got to come out of your stance and hit this guy. If they've jumped onto a high box multiple times, they understand what it's like to be quick. All right, I'm gonna go over that too, but that's just, I try to get it down, and I think simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And John Meadows and I were talking, Dave and I were talking, I think Einstein said, everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. And I'll give you an example. This happened a couple times. When I was answering questions on the Q&A, some guy said, hey, listen, when my dumbbell bench goes up and I get stronger, my bench press goes up. So he said, well, how do I make my dumbbell, what exercises can I do to make my dumbbell bench stronger? It's become so diluted, right? At some point, you just gotta do the exercise, all right? And I've been to God knows how many seminars, and you watch people speak, and it's gotten down to the point where people just teach breathing. You seen this, like they do? And at some point, you know who Brad Arnett is, strength coach? Anyone? Coaches J.J. Watt. He was at Arizona the year after I left, but I talk to Brad all the time. Brad's famous saying is, at some point, well, you got to put some goddamn weight on the bar. All right. But I guess at some point, you want to, if you're teaching a younger generation or someone who's not very experienced, keep things as simple as possible, but you can't break it down to it's like a homeopathic training. Like, listen, we're just gonna think about training right now. Are you getting a sweat going? At some point, you just got to get it done. Okay. Anyone any questions about that? Like for our standards, and I think I'll just tell you them. We want the kids to be very good at squatting, bench pressing, and this thing's going haywire. Squat, bench, and then the trap bar. We've had, prior to me coming there, we had a bunch of back injuries. So the parents are going crazy over deadlifts. This is before I got there. So I just reached a happy compromise. And because I really don't care. I know people say the trap bar is not the deadlift, but the only people who say that are powerlifters. And what the hell do they know about strength training for a sport? Anyway, which is kind of mean, but I just don't. If I picked up 900 pounds on a trap bar and stood up, how many people would be like, well, that's just a trap bar. It's like fucking 900 pounds. It's still pretty good. All right. So those are our three big lifts. But in order to foster a sense of community and competition, the varsity guys have to squat the 100-pound dumbbell for 50 total reps. And they can rest as long as they hold on to the dumbbell. So some guys were slinging it over their shoulder. I really don't care. That's just, I had a guy put it on his neck and just bend over. And, the kids are like, what the hell? I'm like, dude, that's awesome. He found a way around it. It's like when you're a kid who's like 3 or 4, makes an elaborate ladder contraption and gets the cookies. I'm like, I'm not even that mad, you know? Good for you, you earned the cookies. So anyway, so it's 100 for 50. You hold the 100-pound dumbbells, straight leg deadlift for controlled reps for 20. 20 chin-ups for the skill guys, 10 for the big guys, 35 and 20 for the dips, 50 push-ups for everyone, and 40 and 36 for the box jump. All right. And what are these too high, you guys think, or you think they're pretty cool? Like if a kid can do that, that's impressive. It's not groundbreaking, is it? But as soon as I put these in motion, like I said with the JV kids, all of them did it. They all rose to the occasion. And so I think that's incredibly important if you are coaching or you're training someone. Raise your standards, set the standards. And the best thing about like the dumbbell squat is the first time I told them this, everyone's like, oh God. And then they picked up the dumbbell and they started doing it and they're like, nah. And then JT, our receiver, is like, guys, it's only 100 pounds. It's a 25 and a 2.5. And they're like, oh yeah, not too bad. So it's kind of like a little mind game I play with them. It sounds great. It's like 100 pounds, right? It's like my kid thinks every age, every time you get older, you get taller. He thinks when he's 100, it's going to be like as tall as the ceiling. But anyway, so it's a little bit of a little mind trick I play on them. But if we can get the entire team doing that and put some pressure on the kids who don't want to do it or don't think they can do it, it will happen. I used to get questions all the time like, how do you goal set? I'm like, how the hell do you not goal set? Like, what do you do all day? Just exist? It doesn't make any sense to me. So even on a daily basis, I always have like a list of goals. And I have my lifestyle goals. That's, I read every day, I write every day, and I have to do something physical every day. And that doesn't mean gardening. Like you ever hear like old people like, I worked out today, I gardened. Like that's not working out. Like I admire you, but so something dedicated. It may only take 20 or 30 minutes, for example. But I always have a list, and who does any goal setting every day? And you write it down, kind of sometimes. How awesome it is to check something off, right? Yeah, and you get up early, get all your shit done at noon, you're like, oh man, this is awesome. And then you just phone it in the rest of the day. But you already did more than most people do. So that's kind of we want to foster that environment, all right? And anytime you're coaching sports, especially a teamwork activity, that kind of goal setting just helps everyone out. All right, I folded up my paper here like an idiot. Okay. Okay, here's some other stuff here. Every high school kid is pretty much weak and slow with no muscle. All right, I'm gonna discuss, my training plan, I yell at the kids is, we're gonna athlete the lower and bodybuild the upper. How many people here have been lifting for like 20 years? Okay. In your experience, maybe not just you, but everyone else, what was the last lift to get bigger that really struggled? What's that? Bench press. And a lot of that has to do with you just don't have the muscle mass, right? You see all these kids, there's always those outliers, right? That my buddy was 165, bench 500. It's like, well, that's why we're talking about him. He's so amazing, right? It's like Randy Couture. People say, well, Randy fought until he was 44 in the UFC. I'm like, you know why we're talking about him? Because he's so rare. But it's been my experience that these kids, in order for their upper bodies to get stronger, we need to put on more muscle mass, okay? In general, these kids have run and jumped and done shit their entire life, so their lower body's a little more accustomed to the volume, okay? So when I say athlete the lower, that means we keep the volume a little lower on the main barbell lifts because we're also jumping them a lot. We're doing a lot of agility drills, we're running. And we also have something called special forces stuff that also involves the legs. But with the upper body, it's the best thing to program because I just give them a set weight. I'm like, listen, you gotta do like a 50 to 100 reps of this in rows. And the kids just, And so my goal is, at least for the JV, is by the time winter time comes around that they got some muscle mass. I always tell them that you're gonna look good for prom. So that's our whole goal, looking good for prom. Apparently that's still a thing there. But anyway, you guys remember like when prom was a big deal? Like honestly, like you cared what your friends thought? I thought about this. If you could go back in time to like high school, and maybe some of you guys who are younger, it doesn't matter. If you can go back in time and have the same brain that you have today, how little would you do? How many people are like around 40, about my age? Do you have to learn like MS-DOS? Remember what they tell you. Computers are the future. Not computer programming. Like, let someone else do all that crap. I didn't know. But you had to learn that. How outdated was that by the time? 6 months, it was. Yeah, so can you imagine going back in time now? And they're like, yeah, this is not going to be relevant. I'm not doing this. I don't care about you. In fact, the best class I ever took was typing. Like learning how to type. Something that's carried over the most. Anyway, I always think about that, how much that would ruin me as a person if I would go back now. Like how much, like, you just wouldn't care about anything, right? It's a horrible, you hate to tell the kids that in high school, like, listen, nothing matters. I don't know what to tell you, just getting good with someone, that's who you know, it's never what you know.